The betrayal arrived quietly in an email sent at 6:42 a.m. By the time Daniel opened it, the sale had already gone through. The subject line was short and professional: Notice of asset transfer. The message explained that the small manufacturing business his father had built and left equally to both sons had been sold to an outside firm. Daniel read it twice before the words settled. The signature at the bottom belonged to his older brother, Mark, managing partner, sole authority. Daniel sat at his kitchen table long after the coffee went cold. The shop had been their father's life's work. Daniel had handled operations for years, working nights, fixing broken machines, keeping contracts alive. Mark had stayed distant, showing up once a quarter, smiling for clients, talking about growth. The will had been clear, 50-50, no exceptions. Daniel didn't call. He didn't text. He opened the attachment instead. The sale documents were clean, almost elegant. Mark had moved quickly, too quickly. Daniel noticed the date on the authorization form, the one that claimed Daniel had waived his approval rights. It was stamped 3 weeks earlier, on a day Daniel remembered well. He had been in another state, attending a supplier conference, his credit card receipts still saved in his inbox. The signature was his name. It wasn't his hand. By noon, the shock had burned down into something quieter. Daniel shut his laptop and went to the shop one last time. The machines were already tagged with new inventory numbers. A man in a gray jacket was taking photos. He nodded politely, like Daniel was a visitor in his own past. That evening, Daniel called one person, Elena Ruiz, a corporate attorney who'd once audited the company and never forgot details. She listened without interrupting, asked for the files, and said she'd call him back. She did, 20 minutes later. "This wasn't sloppy," she said. "It was confident. That usually means someone thinks they're untouchable." Daniel looked at the forged signature again. "Is it enough?" "It's a start," Elena replied, "and starts are dangerous." The next few days were quiet. Daniel didn't confront Mark. He didn't warn him. He gathered travel records, emails, metadata from the scanned documents. He requested archived server logs from the old accounting system Mark hadn't bothered to migrate. In the margins of ordinary paperwork, a pattern began to appear. Mark had been planning the sale for months, meetings scheduled under vague titles, drafts of contracts saved, deleted, then saved again. And one more thing, a side agreement buried in an appendix. Mark had negotiated a personal consulting role with the buyer, complete with a retention bonus that doubled if the sale closed without dispute. The business wasn't just sold, it had been traded. Elena confirmed what Daniel already suspected. The waiver was forged. The buyer's legal team hadn't verified it because Mark had assured them there would be no challenge. He'd sold certainty along with the company. That certainty was the lever. Elena prepared a single document, a formal notice of dispute, backed by evidence, but sent only to Mark. No court filings, no accusations, just facts laid out in a neutral tone. It ended with a request for a meeting. Mark replied within the hour. They met in a glass-walled conference room at a hotel near the airport. Mark looked relaxed, even amused. He talked about efficiency, about timing, about how difficult decisions had to be made. Daniel listened, said little. When Daniel slid the packet across the table, Mark's smile faded by degrees. He flipped through the pages faster than necessary. He stopped at the server logs, at the travel receipts, at the side agreement. "You don't understand," said Mark finally. "This was good for everyone." Daniel met his eyes. "It was good for you." Mark leaned back. "You wouldn't go through with it. You're sentimental. That business was dying." "It wasn't," Daniel said. "You just wanted out without sharing." Mark exhaled slowly. "What do you want?" Daniel let the silence work. He had learned, over years on factory floors and contract calls, that silence often made people talk themselves into corners. "I want the sale reversed," Daniel said, "your consulting agreement voided, and your signature on a statement acknowledging the forgery." Mark laughed once, short and sharp. "That would destroy me." Daniel nodded. "If we file, the buyer sues you. Criminal charges follow. Your career becomes a footnote." Mark studied him, searching for anger. He didn't find it. "You'd do that to your own brother?" Daniel didn't answer. He didn't need to. The buyer was notified the next morning. Faced with evidence and the risk of a prolonged legal battle, they moved quickly. The sale was unwound under a mutual termination clause Mark hadn't expected to be used against him. The consulting agreement disappeared with it. The statement took longer. Mark resisted, argued, threatened. Elena responded with filings ready to submit, each one more precise than the last. In the end, Mark signed. His name, this time in his own hand. The fallout was contained, but permanent. Mark stepped down from the company entirely. His equity was converted into a fixed payout, fair but final. He left town within the month. Daniel didn't celebrate. He returned to the shop and restarted the machines. Some contracts were lost, others came back slowly. Trust, he found, behaved much like machinery. Neglect it long enough, and it took patience to make it run again. Months later, Daniel stood alone on the factory floor after hours. The lights hummed softly, the place smelled of oil and warm metal. It felt smaller than he remembered, but steadier. He thought about how easily things could have ended differently, how silence might have been simpler, how walking away would have cost less effort. Instead, he had chosen clarity. Not out of anger, but because the truth, once seen, demanded to be handled. Daniel shut off the lights and locked the door behind him. The business was still there, changed but intact. Some losses announce themselves loudly, others arrive as documents, signatures, and quiet decisions. And sometimes reclaiming what was taken doesn't require raising your voice at all.